Hello everyone, my name is Vikas Singh and we are starting a class on polity which is required for your GS paper 2. We'll be covering, so today will be introductory class as to what we are going to cover, how the paper comes, what is the pattern of the examination, and probably we'll start with the first topic, that what is constitution. Now to start with this topic polity, one thing must be coming to the minds of every aspirant who's preparing, that polity is all about constitution. Yes, of course it is about constitution, but is it only about constitution only? That's a big misconception, because if we look at the syllabus defined by UPSC, it is writing constitution, polity, governance and social justice. So this paper 2 covers a wide gamut of area, not only what a common misconception I would say in the minds of the students, that it only relates to constitution. So this paper, that is paper 2, polity, which is commonly known, governance is also a part of it, social justice is also a part of it. It covers a very wide area, not only constitution. Constitution is one aspect of it. This is one thing. Second, one very big misconception in the minds of the students who are preparing for this examination is that we have to learn and to mug up all the articles. Students generally come to me asking, sir, do we need to know all the articles? Do we need to learn all the articles? No, absolutely not. And those students who try to mug up or who try to cram sections or articles in the constitution or sections of various other laws, probably they do not able to handle the mains paper well, because our objective is not only to qualify prelims, objective is to qualify the whole examination. And with the changing trend of the examination is generally the applied part, the conceptual part is being asked nowadays in mains examination. So cramming up of the, I would say, the basic part or the static part of the constitution or mugging up the articles might help you somewhere in prelims, but it will not help you, certainly will not help you in mains. So for that you have to qualify, or you have to understand the basic concepts of the law, basic essence of the constitution. So concept clarity is the primemost thing while learning this topic. General persuasion, if I know the articles, I have known the constitution. That's absolutely wrong. I would say you need to know only, say, about average 100 articles, which you will be learning automatically. It will be cemented in your mind subconsciously when you read and when you know the concept. Application part is coming in the mains examination, and your objective for this examination should be concept clarity. This is the second myth, I just must say. Then I would say there are three parts while learning how to read this part. There are three parts. One is the static part, second is dynamic, and then it is the interlinking of both these parts. The static and dynamic will come, what exactly static, what exactly dynamic is. So this must be the approach to understand this topic. Generally students start, how they start, they simply go and start mugging up the articles. That's absolutely a very wrong approach to read, and probably that is not going to help. You might be, by the end of your preparation, probably you might be knowing few articles, maybe you might be knowing the numbers of the articles, but that approach will never help you. So static part, dynamic part and interlinking, that is, interlinking is that how you apply these into your day-to-day understanding, into your day-to-day preparation, how you apply the laws. Because what constitution is simply our way of life. If I have to put it in one line, the kind of life which we are living in this nation is basically what constitution has given to us. So whatever is there in the constitution is actually we are leading that, is actually we are living that. So to apply that knowledge of the constitution into your life, that exactly is understanding of the conceptual clarity of the law. And this static and dynamic is basically the interlinking. This exactly is what I mean to say when I come to the point that you have to apply both the static and the dynamic parts together for preparation of this examination. Now I'll come to the pattern of the examination. Before we, so what we have exactly discussed is that there shall be no mugging of the articles, and there are two or rather three ways to understand and to make your concept, that is static, dynamic and interlinking. This is basically two things which we have discussed till now. Now let's see what is the pattern of the examination before we enter into, because starting blankly preparing for an exam will be a void thing. First and foremost, we must all know that what exactly is the pattern of the examination and what is coming in the exam. So if we take the examination mains part, there are 20 questions which are coming. Generally 20 questions are being asked from the polity area, and let's divide how they are coming. So this is IR. As of now, we are not dealing with IR. So IR is not a part of subject matter for the study for us. This is 100% of your exam. 20%, 25% will be IR. 25% will be Constitution. Now this Constitution over here, what is the meaning of this Constitution? This exactly is what is in the minds of students, the bare provisions of the law. The bare provision, what is Article 14, what is 19, what is 16, what is 368, what is 39. This is what simply what is set up, is cemented in the minds of the student as to what is exactly the scope of the examination. This part consists only of 25%. And this is also known as static. The meaning of static here is that will not change, that it will remain the same. Article 14, the meaning will remain same, 19 remains same, 39 remains same, 48 it will remain same. Whatever the articles there, it will remain same. So static, it will not change. This is static part. Now this portion which is here, this is welfare policies. 25%. Now what are they exactly? So anything related to education, health, poverty, sanitation, things like that generally. And this is the general trend. Every second year in mains, generally a question either on education or on health is being asked. General trend. For instance, in today's paper, today is 16th October, this lecture we are recording. So today, for instance, how the questions are coming. For today, Global Hunger Index, India's rank in today's paper is 101 out of 116 countries. So that means poverty and hunger. So a question may erupt from that part as well. That rank of India is 101 in the Global Hunger Index, whereas India's GDP or India is the largest growing economy. Kindly explain it as to why this is happening, or elucidate this statement. So why? Because now topic is not only constitution, the topic is social justice also. So this portion relates to social justice part, poverty, education, health, sanitation, disabled, privileged classes generally which we known as SCs and STs, work for them. So questions will erupt from that. If I share with you in 2016, I suppose, a statement of Mr. Amartya Sen was given, and it was asked that please give suggestions as to improve the health and education system in India. And a statement of Amartya Sen was also given which was related to health and education. So please understand, try to understand that we are reading constitution and question is coming from health. Question in the mains is coming from education. Your suggestions as an administrator were asked as to how to improve the education and health facilities in India. So please, what I am trying to do here is that I am trying to envision or to broaden your vision as to what exactly is coming in the examination and what is the scope of the examination. What is your area of reading in this examination? So it is not only in paper 2 that you know the constitution, and those who have read, who have limited themselves to static part, probably it will be difficult for them to tackle such kind of questions. It will be difficult for them. Another question. A question has come with regard to Khap Panchayats. Now question has come, what is the status of the Khap Panchayats? This is not the exact wording, but this was the essence of the question, that what are Khap Panchayats? They are extra constitutional bodies, and please tell what judicial, executive and legislature have done to undo what Khaps are doing. Examination. Now those who feel that they know the static part, the bare provisions of the law as to what is written in the constitution, probably they will be feeling that the question is from the Panchayati Raj Pact. But the question is not from Panchayat, question relates to the social aspect, the social justice aspect or the welfare aspect of the people of this nation or the subjects of this very constitution, that is citizens of India. So you as being an administrator, your opinion is required as to what is the status, what do you understand by Khap, what is the status of the Khap and what judiciary, legislature and executive is doing with regard to undo what extra constitutional activities Khaps are doing. So Khap in existence itself is not a illegal thing, but any body which is doing anything which is beyond constitution, naturally it has to be punished because everything in India is as per the norms of the law. Correct? So this is 25. My focus is to tell you about what constitutes in the examination. What are the components, what are the attributes of this exam. So this is one portion. Now this 15% relates to governance. Governance part. Now governance, if we take the examples, role of NGOs, role of pressure groups, role of administrative bodies, commissions, Panchayati Raj, Panchayats, very important part. Various commissions here. Right. So, governance part is this part. What exactly, how do pressure groups are actually helping? Now, this part, if we know the static part, if we know the essence of the constitution, if we know the provisions of the constitution, what the constitution wishes to do, what kind of system constitution wishes to establish, that system is being enunciated in this portion of rest of the 50%. And out of which the UPSC has divided into three parts. One is obviously welfare policies, secondly governance, welfare, social justice, and here economic policies. Now you will say, this is about polity and we are talking of economic policies. Of course, here the writing of your answer will be different. For instance, from last 2-3 years, 2016, 2017, 2018, question on self-help groups is coming. Now self-help group is actually a topic, outrightly topic of economics. Questions were also being asked early 15s, around 2015, 2016, 17. Questions were asked in economics as well, either directly or indirectly. What is the role of self-help groups? Now self-help groups, the groups, self-constituted group at any level, generally at the rural levels, helping themselves, generating economy, contributing into economy. But that has to be seen in light of welfare of people. What exactly it has been doing? Economic policies related to social upliftment. This will also be a subject matter here. That economic policies related to social upliftment. For instance, we can, if I give the example, our Prime Minister started Startup India project. So of course anyone can start. Now why? If we relate it to the constitution, this is coming to the third part now. Static, dynamic plus interlinking. Now economic policy, you are interlinking it to welfare, governance, and of course the static part, that is the constitution. Now the essence of the constitution, the objective of the constitution is welfare of the people, and state is bound to do that. State is bound to come up with certain policies which are going to give ample opportunities for the upliftment, which provide a platform, a trajectory for the development of its citizens. It is here. Question of economics, but taking the static part, that the welfare of the state is the objective, welfare of the people is the objective of the constitution, and state is mandated under directive principles to come up with certain policies which enhance the economic development of the people also. Thereby a scheme called Startup India or Stand Up India which has come up. There's another Stand Up India scheme which was meant for the underprivileged sections of the society. Again, social justice. Because the preamble itself says that we have to do social justice after adopting the constitution, after converting India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. We have to give justice, liberty and equality to our people. But justice of what type? Justice which is social, economic and political. So social justice, we have to. So this exactly is the pattern of the exam. 25% IR, we are not concerned with it at this stage. So we are deleting this part. This 75% constitutes 25% static part, wherein the provisions of the law or the provisions of the constitution, to precisely if we understand, provisions of the constitution, they will come. So you need to know what exactly is written in the constitution. Certain very basic provisions must be cemented in your mind. You should know them. And their application is tested in these three areas. This 50% of the examination, which is divided into welfare policies, economic part and governance part. So welfare part also includes social justice. So what generally topics? Now this list which I have given is not, mind you, is exhaustive, is not exhaustive. It is only merely a tentative list on certain topics when questions are coming. This is for your understanding as to how questions are coming. And I shared two questions, one from Khap Panchayats and one from education. Amartya Sen's statement, suggestions for the improvement of health and education. Now you just see, we are reading constitution and questions are coming on welfare of primary education and health. Questions are coming on Khap Panchayats, administrative part, social welfare part. So if we simply reduce or we will refrain ourselves from reading this portion, then probably it will be difficult for us to handle the mains paper. Now this static part you understood here, that bare provisions of the law is static, correct? What is dynamic? This whole area, this 50% is dynamic. This area is dynamic in nature. Understanding of the static part and then applying your understanding on the dynamic part. This exactly how you have to read, and this exactly is the scope of the examination. I am pretty sure that this very thing has been understood by you. Now, after knowing the static and the dynamic, we have to interlink it as well. As the applicable part of the static understanding is coming in the mains examination. Now, while writing answers for the mains, you have to interlink the static and the dynamic part. For instance, dynamic part, let's see another question. Static part, bare provision. If we exclude the word bare just to understand the provisions of Constitution, that is various articles in the Constitution. Dynamic part. A question from the static part in the mains examination 2018, I suppose, or maybe 2019. A question has come 2018, I suppose. That reservation, a very hot topic, and a topic which I generally say those who do not even speak in the class and those who do not know anything, reservation is such a topic that it gives tongue to everyone. It is such a topic that everyone has his own view. So reservations topic was there. A question was came in the examination that reservation in minority institutions. Reservation generally given in Article 15, 16. Now 15 with regard to Now 15, static part. You know where the reservation provisions are given. Those who are socially and educationally backward, Article 15(4). Here, static part. Reservation will be given to them in educational institutions. Now, question was asked, can this reservation which is given in Article 15 will be applicable to the minority institutions? It is in Article 15 itself given that such reservation will not be applicable to minority institutions. Now, generally students have ended their answer, have completed their answer by writing that provision only in the mains examination. But at the same time, this you have to apply Article 29 and Article 30. You have to connect it to that. Interlinking. It is also part of it. And the dynamic part, the debate going in the nation with regard to minority status to two big institutions, that is Jamia Millia Islamia and Aligarh Muslim University. This debate now and then comes that why the status is being given to them. Another debate comes, St. Stephen's College and University has its own norms of admission, whereas it is under Delhi University, and why so it is different. Why reservation in a premier institution like St. Stephen's is only limited for minority students. Now the whole crux, that dynamic part is here, not only Article 15 static part is there. This is how you have to explain. This is what exactly I meant by stating that what is static and what is dynamic. Now this portion, as I said, that debate in the nation with regard to not only reservation but minority status to few institutions. So It is generally in the news that why. Now, can in a minority institution reservation with regard to Article 15 can be given? That we have to see. That question has come. Another question we see, dynamic part. Now, my objective by sharing the questions with you here, which have been asked in the previous papers, is to tell you that the scope of the examination is not limited to knowing the bare provisions of Constitution. We generally feel, मुझे आ गया, याद कर लिया, सारे आर्टिकल आते हैं, and in the classroom or here and there at tea and coffee Cossacks, what we say, 25 में क्या लिखा है भाई जरा बताइए, और 25 उसने बता दिया तो आप फिर 325 पूछ लेंगे कि 25 तो इसको आता है, 325 नहीं आता होगा. And naturally 325 the other person doesn't know. You feel I am a perfect knowledge of Constitution, or I have prepared very well, now I know, he doesn't know. No, not at all. Knowing articles is not a very big deal in this preparation for this examination. And I must share it with you that over a period of time, the trend of the examination is also changing. Examiners, UPSC is trying to test your practical knowledge. They're trying to test how will you apply your mind and understanding of the law to certain situations, because they want to take administrator. They do not want to take someone who has crammed the book and simply came there and wrote the exam and qualified the exam. They need to test your basic skill that as to how much your mental faculties are active and adaptive to certain situations. Correct? So this is static and dynamic part. Another static part is with regard to elections. Dynamic part. Election static part, election commission, there is an election commission in the nation, elections will held and all those things are written in the constitution. Knowing that will not suffice because that's only static part. Question came with regard to voting machines. That whether EVMs are manipulated or not, things like that. These questions came in the examination. Now, where is your static knowledge? Article 325, 25, 27, 28. You know everything very well, but you are unable to handle the question. You might be knowing the provisions related to elections. You might be knowing where it is given adult suffrage. But question is with regard to this part, that voting machines. Now application part. This has come. So again, applying of your dynamic knowledge, and if we see how are you going to prepare now as far as books are concerned, as far as other material which is there, they are also not covering such topics. If you go to any standard book as for UPSC for the preparation of Constitution, 2-3 books are very common. Lakshmikant, very common book. D.D. Basu, very common book. J.N. Pandey, Sirvai, M.P. Jain, V.N. Shukla. So many other books are there on the Constitution. More you want to dig, more read, more you can read. But we do not have to go to that extent because we do not want to become, our objective is not to be constitutional experts. Our objective is only to qualify the exam. And qualifying the exam needs basic static knowledge. After that, the application of that knowledge. And now I am coming to one important part of that this dynamic knowledge can be achieved from one good source. That is newspaper. Understanding the static part and reading the newspaper, various views of the experts will give you ample knowledge or give you an insight view of what exactly is the application of the static provision. For instance, federalism, a very common and important topic. Generally everyone knows what is federalism. Question came, as to simultaneous elections. Simultaneous elections, you might be knowing, elections at one time, both in the center and the state. Debate, yes, is it good, bad, fine. We are concerned with polity and constitution. Whether it's good or bad, that's a separate part. But question came because we are reading, how is it going to breach the federalism? Please understand. Simultaneous elections, what its effects on federalism, whether it will breach the very basic tenets of our constitution, that our constitution is the federal constitution, whether it's going to breach it or not. This is what the question. Static knowledge, how a certain situation, after understanding the static part, is going to be applied. This is dynamic part. This is what you have to understand. This is about the whole exam. This is about the wholesome or the entire or knowledge in eternity with regard to preparation for paper 2, that is polity and governance. Now, generally I have also seen at various institutions as well, and students also, they have this in their mind that governance they have to read separately and polity and constitution they have to read separately. No, not at all. They are all interconnected. This governance part, roles of pressure groups. Now, if we see, if I just share with you one example. Maratha agitation was going on with regard to reservation. State government to appease or for certain political reasons also gave. Matter pending in Supreme Court. Supreme Court denied. No reservation as to Marathas. And still that social and economic reservation in Maharashtra, it is still pending in the Supreme Court. So my objective, Maratha agitation. Now probably you must be thinking that why Maratha agitation? It is question related to reservation, which is typical a constitutional static part. I want to give you insight in a different view. If we see, such agitations are also in Haryana. For that matter, if we say certain community, let's say Jats, Pattidars and Marathas. Now try to understand this fact that the question is with regard to reservation. But you see, there are three communities are agitating at geographical level, right from north to south. North India, Jats, a specific community over here, Patidars in Gujarat and Marathas in Maharashtra, they are agitating. Now, this connection, interlinking, which I am trying to make you understand here is that, please see that these are agricultural communities. And agricultural communities are asking for reservation in jobs and educational institutions. We have to see it from the angle of social justice as well. And as they are agricultural communities, please try to understand, we should understand that situation of agriculture is not good. Had it been good, probably such communities would not have asked for reservation. If the economic status of agriculture or the economic viability, I would say, of agriculture would have been good or would have been promising, then these communities would not have seen it in or asked or agitated for reservation. Even Gujars over here in Rajasthan, they are asking. So please, this is how you have to understand, this is how you have to read, and this knowledge can only be attained by reading one source, and that one source is obviously newspaper and one good magazine, and then applying the static part to such situations. Why it is denied? This is dynamic part, static part. This is static, that whether they are entitled, whether these communities entitled to reservation. This is static part. Dynamic part, condition of agriculture, social justice, or condition of even communities which are primarily known to be wealthy communities or well-off communities, socially as well as financially. They are also asking, so that means there must be a serious flaw in the economic situation of these people, and state has to address it, because state has to take care of each and every citizen of this nation, not only a few number or certain gender or certain community. State has to see everyone. So this is, I wish to share with you, that a misconception, no mugging up, no cramming, no need to know each and everything. Secondly, the pattern, 50% dynamic part, 25% the static part. Static part, of course, certain things you have to know or remember, but not each and every article of the Constitution. Then understanding and applying. After that, we have seen certain questions which have emerged in previous papers, UPSC. Please try to see how we have to approach in this examination, how we have to read further for this examination. Now, let's start with certain first of all, one important topic, and after that we'll start with certain basic topics, or I would say certain doctrines of law on which our constitution is based upon. But before that, we have to see two things. Very important concept. Constitution. What is constitution? What is constitutionalism? Two important things. Constitution, everyone knows, सभी जानते हैं कि सर ये book है, book of laws. It is set of laws, norms, various definitions you may come up, which even I do not know. Probably many of you know many of your definitions. But is it only a book of law? That exactly is a very big question. Constitution is not merely set of certain laws or supreme law or a code on which a state is being run. Constitution, if I put as I earlier said, it is exactly our way of life. What is our way of life is Constitution. Constitution not only tells us that what exactly the law is, what exactly the norms, the laws in the nation are, but it tells us what kind of system do we wish to adopt. With reference to system, all that education, transport, health, infrastructure, government, everything is determined by Constitution. So Constitution tells us not only about your law, it tells you about the kind of system you wish to have. It tells you about the various organs of the government which you wish to establish in your country. So it also tells you about the various institutions in your nation. The institution of judiciary, the institution of election commission, your UPSC is a constitutional body. that central recruitment will be done by a body called UPSC. So you put that in constitution, that how do we, when we frame our nation, when we make our nation, after the making of the nation, there shall be a recruiting body which will do recruitment for the central services, and that body is UPSC. In our constitution, that is enshrined in the constitution. So constitution not only tells you about the law, it tells you about the institutions also in your system. It tells you about the system, it tells you about the institutions of judiciary. It tells you about the kind of governance system you want to have, parliamentary form of government you wish to have. This is what is written in our constitution. कैसा सिस्टम चाहिए आपको, किस तरह की गवर्नेंस चाहिए, that also is being written in the constitution. It also tells you what are the various organs your government is going to have, what kind of organs you will have. So primarily 3 organs here: legislature, judiciary and executive, or if we put legislature, executive and judiciary in chronological order. So these are the organs. So constitution is not merely a book of law, it is a way of life. It tells you about the kind of system you wish to have, it tells you about the kind of polity, the kind of governance system you wish to have, it tells you about the various institutions which you wish to have, it tells you about the various organs which you wish to have. It also describes as to the interaction between the various organs, how do they interact between them. It tells you about certain constitutional bodies, for instance constitutional heads, also constitutional positions also, like that of a governor, that of attorney general, that of a prime minister. It tells you about all. So constitution, of course it is a book of law, and it is called the book of supreme law of the nation. That what is the meaning of supreme law? That any other law which is framed in the nation has to be in line or is to be in consonance with the constitution. That any other law which is being made in the nation by the legislative bodies, it must be in line or it must be in consonance with that of the constitution. So that is why it is the supreme law. It is called the supreme law of the nation, the biggest law of the nation, and any violation of the law or any violation of the constitution will naturally bring the structure or ultra vires to the constitution. If it is ultra vires, naturally it is going to be struck down by our organ called judiciary, that we see later. But anything which is against the constitution is void or illegal. That is illegal. So meaning of constitution, we must not restrict ourselves to the restrictive meaning or the restrictive definition of law, of constitution, that it is Ratnesh, kindly phone aaya please dekhiye. So it is not merely a book of laws. It tells you about the system you wish to adopt. So it has a very wide connotation. Constitution has a very wide connotation, and it must not be restricted to simply a book of norms and laws only. Now this is there a very simplistic understanding of what constitution is. So your understanding as to it contains fundamental right, DPSP, or for that matter UPSC, election commission, judiciary, there could be anything. It has to be decided by the framers of the constitution. What is there in our constitution, there could be certain more things or there could be certain less things. It all depends upon what kind of system a nation wishes to have. So our forefathers, our framers of constitution has given us this constitution which we have, wherein certain things are there. So in the constitution of various other nations, there could be certain things which are little more what is given in our constitution, little less what, or I would say rather very less what is given in our constitution. As you know that ours is one of the lengthiest constitution. Ours is one of the detailed constitution in the world. So everything is crystal clear in our constitution. Now this is constitution, simplistic understanding. Now constitutionalism, then a concept which is very much inherent in our constitution. Without constitutionalism, the very constitution does not exist. This question is being asked again and again. Last year it was asked in prelims also, and many a times people misunderstand what exactly this constitutionalism is. So if we see constitutionalism in 2 words if I write. Right? Limited government. Limited does not mean that ONGC limited or something like that. It is not a company, but limited, restricted. Meaning thereby constitution, if this is the most simplistic thing I could write to make you people understand as to what is constitutionalism. Constitutionalism means that the government, despite that government is all omnipotent, it is extremely powerful, the whole machinery of the state is at the disposal of the government. Despite all that, despite possessing all the powers, state cannot also go beyond constitution. State इसके beyond नहीं जा सकती, thereby meaning that state is also, with reference to state, my meaning here is to the government. The government can also not go beyond what is written in the constitution. Despite the fact that the government is all powerful and all machinery of the state and the whole bureaucracy is at the disposal of the government. Despite that, उसको गलत नहीं कर सकते. That is why you ask your Prime Minister, sir, how much you have spent in your foreign travels? And Prime Minister gives the answer. Otherwise, he is the Prime Minister of the nation. Why he should give? Because लिमिटेड हैं आप भी लिमिटेड हैं, आप भी इससे बाहर नहीं जा सकते. जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर द प्राइम मिनिस्टर यू कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग. जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर ए मिनिस्टर यू कैन नॉट डू एनीथिंग. इफ आई कम टू द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट, रिसेंटली दिस लखीमपुर इंसिडेंट हैज हैपेंड. How the Prime Minister's son has been apprehended, that's a different issue, but he's been apprehended. Otherwise, he's the minister's son. He went beyond law. He did something which is illegal. Constitution took hold of him. State cannot make any law which takes away fundamental rights of the people. Article 13 of the Constitution. Written in the Constitution. State, government cannot make any law which takes away or abridges or abrogates people's right. State, just because it is state, government, just because it is government, it is all powerful, all potent, omnipotent, everywhere it is present. It cannot do what it wishes to. It has to come to the law. It has to abide the law. It has to abide the supreme law of the land. Merely because you are government you cannot do. So constitutionalism is this very fact that whosoever you are, even the state is governed, the government is also governed by constitution. That's why a question comes in prelims, who is supreme here, the government, the judiciary or the constitution? It is the constitution. Why? Because the government is also deriving its powers from the constitution. Constitution से पावर ड्राइव करती है और अब जो पावर्स यहाँ पे लिखी हैं, all those powers which are written in the constitution, which are being entrusted upon the government by the constitution, government cannot work beyond those powers. That's why we as citizens or anyone in this nation can question the government if the government is doing any act which is beyond law or which is ultra vires to the constitution, which is beyond the constitution. वो सवाल पूछ सकते हैं कि सर आप ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हैं, और अगर गलत किया है तो they will be treated as per law. As per law, whatever the punishment or whatever the discourse of the given in the law, that will be meted by the government also. Are you understanding? So constitutionalism, so we come to conclusion. एक conclusion हम निकाल सकते हैं कि there could be no constitution if there is no constitutionalism in that constitution. क्या सिंप्लीफाई करता हूं इसे, और अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या है? एक सेट ऑफ रूल नॉर्म्स है जिससे एक सिस्टम चलता है. Of course, a set of rules and norms, and defines various other things as well. Now, to understand constitutionalism, there could be a constitution even in a dictatorial state. If we talk of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they write kingdom, please understand, very important. They do not write republic. We write Republic of India. We'll see in the further coming classes as well. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now here, as you know, there is no constitution. कोई constitution नहीं है. But there are certain set of rules and norms set by the king, and there are structures as well. This structure, my reference is to the point that there are structures. They must be collecting tax also. They must be managing their infrastructure as well. They must be managing their road, transport, water, health, sanitation, everything they must be managing. And there must be certain rules and norms for it. Whether they are written or unwritten, that is different point. But there must be certain laws and norms. These laws and norms are made by the king. And king's word is the last word here. These norms, कुछ rules तो होंगे, but if the king wishes, king can maneuver, king can change, king can dismantle, or king can again rebuild any law, or can make any law for his own convenience which suits him, or can put any restrictive or repressive law upon its citizens, because here the wish of the king is supreme. But if there is constitutionalism in our nation, where constitutionalism is functioning, there the government is also guided by constitution and cannot do anything of its own which is beyond constitution. So even if the way Saudi Arabian king comes, goes to any nation, he brings his own set of cars and set of escalators, how much he spends upon his foreign travels, same way our Prime Minister cannot do, because he will be asked the question that you cannot do it because your job is for the welfare of the people. Here in Saudi Arabia, for anything, for criminal activities, certain penal provisions are very regressive in nature. No, in our constitution, no, because here ours is a reformative constitution. Our theory of punishment is reformative in nature. We do not provide death penalty, rarest of rare case in our constitution. But here it is a norm. If the king wishes. So what I mean to say here, as there is no constitution, or this set of rules and norms could be taken as a set of constitution which is there for the governance of Saudi Arabia. Despite constitution here in Saudi Arabia, there is no constitutionalism in Saudi Arabian laws and norms. Why? Because the king, which is supreme in Saudi Arabia, can maneuver, can change, can amend, can repeal, can apply any situation, any law according to his whims and fancies, according to his own wishes. He is not governed by anyone. But in our nation, our system, our government, our state is governed by constitution, is also limited by constitution. This limits put upon the functioning of the government by the constitution is constitution. That means that state cannot take or cannot do anything which takes away the rights of the people. And in any sense, it has to work for the welfare of the people. Any law which you make, it must be for the welfare of the people. If people are unhappy, they'll come and they'll tell you, sir, we are not happy with you, kindly change. We are just witnessing farmers' protests going on throughout the nation. Farmers are not happy. They are protesting, whether it is good or bad, that's a separate issue. But they are protesting, they are telling the government, sir, we do not like this law, you kindly repeal this law. State has made a law. State is saying that we have made it for the benefit of the people. Now, we'll do someday other class whether it's a good law or a bad law, what exactly. But just for your example, that we can come to the government, and government has made a law only for the benefit of the people, benefit के लिए ही है. Demonetization, certain people are unhappy, but for the benefit of the people, the money which will be coming to the government will be spending for the benefit of the people, for the social schemes. Now whether it is being spent or not, that's different, but state outrightly demonetization या disinvestment नहीं कर सकती, क्योंकि मैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर हूं, अब मेरा मन कर रहा है मैं एयर इंडिया को बेच दूं, मैं एयर इंडिया को रतन टाटा को बेच रहा हूं, मेरा मन कर रहा है. नो, यू कैन नॉट डू इट. You are governed by law. Even if you have to sell, you have to sell it for the welfare of the people, and selling or not selling will also be done after due deliberation and discussion. You simply outright cannot take a decision that I wish to do it, I am doing it. The way King in Saudi Arabia does. The guiding force for government is our constitution. So, basic meaning of constitutionalism is that government is limited by the constitution. Government cannot go beyond the constitution, despite the fact that government is omnipotent. Otherwise, government so powerful, ministers so powerful. Power, theory of power in political science also, for optional students. Theory of powerful है, उसके बाद भी बदल नहीं सकते. We come to the other part. Ministers or other political dignitaries, so powerful. Every 5 years they come to your house with their folded hands and say, sir, please vote for me. Why? Because they are also governed. Constitution बोलता है every 5 years election होंगे, आपको दोबारा मत लेना पड़ेगा, आपको जीतना पड़ेगा, लोगों से पूछना पड़ेगा. Otherwise, if this is not there, now लोगों से पूछना, दोबारा लोगों के पास जाना, every year 5 year elections होना, और पावर इलेक्शन की लोगों के पास देना, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म का एक एस्पेक्ट है. Are you understanding? Otherwise, political leaders are so powerful, they'll never come again to your house. They'll say, no, we are in power, we'll remain in power throughout our life. We do not need your vote or support anymore. You vote or you do not vote. King can do. You like me or you do not like me, I am the king. And I will remain in the seat of power all my life. After me, my son, my son, my son, my son, my son. And then how many sons you don't know. Are you understanding? This is constitutionalism. So, this very concept of constitutionalism makes our constitution, or any constitution which has constitutionalism in it, makes it a true and a viable and a operational constitution which is there for the welfare of the people. And this is what our constitution is. And there are inherent principles with regard to constitution, and there are very I would say formative and very expressive instances of constitutionalism are also there. For instance, if I just to tell you, Article 19, you all know, is about freedom, certain freedoms. Now the restrictions on freedoms are given in Article 19, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those restrictions are constitutionalism. State Article 13, judicial review, constitutionalism. Even deriving of the power from the constitution itself, inherent principle, is constitutionalism. I hope this concept of constitutionalism is very clear in your mind as to that the meaning of constitution is limited government. If I read something from a certain text just for your understanding as to what exactly is constitutionalism. Constitutionalism connotes the essence of the limited government. It is antithesis to the arbitrary power. Very antithesis to the arbitrary power. Now, if I am government, I cannot act arbitrarily. Even in my functions, I cannot be arbitrary. I have to abide the law. मैं गवर्नमेंट हूँ, मैं सरकार हूँ, omnipotent हूँ. Despite that, I have to abide the law. I cannot work arbitrarily. Only when the constitution of a country seeks to decentralize power and also impose other restraint does a country have both constitution and constitutionalism. Very beautifully written that when a country tries to decentralize, that the center of power, the seat of power doesn't remain in the hands of few. The state is not autocratic. A country is said to have both constitution and constitutionalism. This is also one aspect of constitutionalism. Now, seat of power here in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, in the hands of the king, No decentralization. Whatever he thinks is correct will be done. No constitution, no law. He may say this is law. Now that will be law. In our constitution, no. Sir, this is the law. Mr. Prime Minister, you are doing something wrong. It is beyond law. Mr. Minister, Mr. Secretary, sir, it is beyond law. There are people to tell him, and if he doesn't listen to them, there are institutions to tell him. The institution of judiciary is there. He can bring anyone to the court of law if he has worked beyond the law, beyond the constitution. So this is about constitution. If I read a very important definition as to what is constitution, just for information. Constitution springs from the belief of limited government. Constitution means a written organic instrument under which the government's powers are conferred and circumscribed. This stresses upon the grant of limitation of authority is fundamental. The stress is upon the limitation of the authority is fundamental. That your authority as government, your authority is limited. That your power is limited. You cannot go. This is, I would say, a very simplistic explanation from my side. Probably this is the most simplest way I could explain as to what is constitutionalism. So constitutionalism is the essence of our constitution. Although it's not written anywhere in the constitution itself. But if there is no constitutionalism, then what is the point of having constitution? Because if the power of the government is unlimited, government can do whatever they wish to, then what is the point of having a constitution? So whosoever is in the power will do whatever he wishes to do. May make or repeal or make certain regressive or repressive laws depending upon his whims and fancies or his wishes. So whatever, and in a nation like ours, which is so diverse, please understand that the government is also governed by law. Now a Prime Minister comes from South India, just for example. So naturally he is coming from South India, he is more connected to South India, his culture, his education, everything, his native place is there. Merely because I am Prime Minister, I will not only work for South India, I will equally work for each and every part. Despite the fact, even if I don't wish to. अगर मैं नहीं भी करना चाह रहा, मैं ज्यादा साउथ इंडिया को बेनिफिट करना चाहता हूं प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनके, मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा क्योंकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलिज्म है. इफ आई स्टार्ट डूइंग दैट, agencies, instruments in this nation, various instrumentalities in this nation will start asking me a question that, sir, you are doing beyond law. You are working, you are going against the law. And this is illegal, so you cannot do it. And even if I am adamant saying that I am the Prime Minister, I will do it. Because that's my part of the land, I belong to that land, I will do. If I do, agencies, instrumentalities, people, citizens, anyone can bring him to the court of law and can get that law struck off. And Prime Minister, despite being Prime Minister, will not be able to work. So, this constitutionalism, the spirit of constitutionalism is very vital for our constitution, because naturally any person is connected to his roots, to his culture. So we, being a diverse nation, constitution helps us in a very big way to establish the true polity or the true essence of the constitution. If I say Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has said that Indian constitution is not a boiling pot, coffee pot, the way Americans are known, or the way the American nation is known. It's a boiling pot of coffee or tea, where whatever tea you put in the boiling pot, at the end of the day it becomes tea only. So various identities mix up together in America. Russian, American, Latinos, Asians, Chinese, Filipinos, all of them go there, they become Americans. They start behaving the way American culture is. But our society, Dr. Ambedkar has said, is a platter of salad. What does he said? He said our society represents platter of salad, where everyone has a different color, different identity, different culture, and everyone has to be kept together. When they come together, it makes a platter of salad colorful, it looks very beautiful. and they stay together. So this is how our society, and for our society, constitutionalism is the most important thing. It must contain in the constitution, and which is very much expressive and inherently in our constitution. Let's take a break for 5 minutes and then we will start. Thank you so much.